This is James Mathers for the Digital Cinema Society at NAB 2024. I'm here with Michael Thomas, Module 8, and he's going to tell us about a new product you have. What's it called?
The product is called the Tuner, and what it is you've got people using vintage lenses, you've got people doing detuning. This is the world's first V-tuner. So it's variable detuning. It was invented by legendary optical designer Ian Neal. 13 Academy Awards, including the Gordon Sawyer Award. He's invented some of the greatest cinema glass in history. This is a patent pending concept of his where he said, I want to design a zoom lens, but I don't want to zoom magnification. I want to zoom the look of the lens. And basically he invented these adapters that go in between the prime lens or zoom lens and the image plane and give you a specific look. Now that look can be kind of anything that he can dream up, but it's usually reducing contrast or bringing in astigmatism or rolling off the field, doing something like that. But its claim to fame is that it does that in a variable way. So you can set your own look. You're not saying I'm going to use this person's look or that person's look. I'm going to set my look. I want something that gives me halation. I want something that gives me something reminiscent of a Baltar, reminiscent of a K35, or reminiscent of a vintage anamorphic. Use that model number, or L1 or L2 or 3, but then dial in the amount of that effect that you would like to see.
This makes a lot of sense to me. I mean, people are taking the coating off their lenses to try to get a vintage look, and they can never go back from that.
It never goes back, and there's a lot of the trend right now is to shoot vintage or to do detuning because things are too clinical, they're not film-like, we like the way things looked in the old days. Well, we think detuning is kind of crazy because detuning is a very non-predictable process. So you get a set of primes from XYZ company, you change the back element, and you go, oh, I like the way that looks. And then you try to do the same exact trick to a different focal length lens in that series, and it doesn't look anything the same. So you got these guys trying to tweak and fiddle with glass to come up with something that they think looks good. We say, stick with the glass that you know and love. We're great with quote unquote clinical glass, although we also will add character to glass that already has character. We'll just add more character or different character, and just whatever your mood is, whatever your style is, use that adapter, dial in that strength.
So this goes between the lens and the body?
Yes, it goes between the lens and the body. So right now the product is EF or PL mount to mirrorless, because just like a speed booster, we need this space to put our optics. And right now we go PL mount into the adapter into a mirrorless camera, and we are interchangeable mount, so you can make this an E, an RF, an X, or an L. So we're pretty much camera agnostic, and now you're ready to shoot. Everyone asks us, here we are at NAB saying, when are you going to do PL camera side? It's coming. We're going to do a PL to PL version that has an expander built into it. But for now, this is the product. Yeah.
So can you show me how it works?
Sure. So I've got my Zeiss Supreme 40 here. I've attached my tuner. This is our L1, which was, we like to say, inspired by Super Baltars. And inspired by means we've tested a bunch of sets of Super Baltars. We looked at the patents and say, well, the 35 has all this halation, the 20 has some lateral color in the corners, it has some funky roll-off. So Ian just kind of came up with something that just tried to anchor the look into something that people could be familiar with. We're not saying it's a copy of those lenses, and since Baltars are only T23 anyway, this might be what happens if you could take one of those vintage lenses and crank it all the way up to T15. So once I have this on, I put it on my digital camera. Now this is our most extreme look. So this is, the people who really love this L1 are like dream sequence, music videos. I'm trying to make a statement with this. If you make this fast, if you make it T15, and then I'm at 2, I'm already lowering the contrast. And as I crank it up, you're gonna see all that halation and glow come in.
That helps my complexion. Thank you.
It makes you, you're ready for your Academy Award speech. But what the thing that drove us nuts for a year that was so hard to do, and what was so hard for Ian to do, Ian actually said this was a harder design to do than a lot of the high-end cinema glass he did, because to create aberration behind a lens, to make it scale quasi-linearly from weak to strong, and then have it stay in focus, is an optical design program that the optical design programs don't even know how to solve. So a lot of this is literally him hand calculating and hand tweaking this to make it work, because the optimization algorithms can't even do it. So he's spent 5+ years doing this. It's patent pending. It's just really an amazing piece of work. So we are staying in focus. So we are allowing you to do the first ever look ramp, right? So you have this on a motor. You can go from sequence A to Dreamyland, and you'll notice that even though the contrast is changing, the eye glint, the 4K, we are still resolving 4K through the halation. And we have three different looks. L1 is our extreme Baltar. L2 is our beauty look. It's inspired by K35, and you saw a little bit of a demo before we did the interview. It's just taking the edge off the skin in the center. It's why people like a lot of the looks out there in the world, is because it just makes it a little softer. And then, as a really fun thing, off-axis effects are getting really popular right now, in our opinion. The Petsfall look, the Greg Fraser shot Dune 2 with the Helios lens. This L3 leaves the center alone and brings in astigmatism. So the astigmatism is a lot more complex than like a standard field curvature. So you end up with this it's the same order of magnitude of astigmatism you'd find in a vintage anamorphic lens. So A, it just does the cool off-axis effect. B, you can put it on a low-power anamorphic lens, like a 133 or a 1.5, and make it look way more like a vintage 2.0. Or if you're shooting spherical and cropping to 239:1, and you go, oh, that doesn't really do much. I'm getting the aspect ratio, but I didn't put any character into it. Using the L3 will give that cropped image something more interesting to look at than than people knowing you just got to cheat it and crop the spherical lens.
It makes a lot of sense. I'm eager to try it.
We can't wait. We kickstarted this thing. We're selling this thing through Shop Moment, which is I was co-founder of Moment Lens, which is the iPhone company, and they're helping us with a lot of logistics. We have just so people know, we have an EF version of this. So there's an EF version that supports autofocus, supports aperture pass-through, everything like that. So we start here. We moved up the food chain to PL. The PL lenses are limited to lenses that don't stick out too far in the back. We have a template for that, but we have a 1.4x PL to PL expander on the roadmap that will be variable and will accommodate any lens, including turning S35 lenses into full frame that are now tunable. So now you can take your ultra sharp master anamorphic that you spend so much money on that now is out of favor because it's so sharp, and stick our L3 on it and tune that and make it more interesting. But we're calling it, we had to come up like, we're saying your look, we're saying fresh looks, and we're saying let's make this whole concept of detuning and creating something unique to my project, let's make it as easy as possible, let's make it as economic as possible, and let's make it so that you're not spending more time fiddling with lenses, and you're spending more time shooting and thinking about your project and thinking about your inspiration, and let us just be the inspiration that helps you create your own look, and we hope it catches on.
Makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much, Michael.
You're welcome. Thanks. Nice pleasure meeting you.